Right now, a certain type of shopper is walking through grocery stores and warehouse clubs with a very short list. No cart stacked with freeze-dried buckets, no doomsday stockpile, just 9 items, most of them under $5 each, that are either already showing regular shelf gaps, already up noticeably in price, or both. You will not see a news segment covering this. These are not dramatic shortages. They are quiet ones, the kind that show up as a half-stocked row one week, but temporarily. Unavailable tag the next, and then nothing after that. 9 items. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what they are, why each one is disappearing, and what it actually costs you to wait. Let's get into it. Number 1. Whole wheat flour in sealed format. This is the item that ties together everything else in a functional pantry. And it is quietly becoming one of the harder bulk staples to find at reasonable prices. Winter wheat prices have been structurally high since the Russian invasion of Ukraine disrupted one of the world's most important wheat exporting regions. Russia and Ukraine together historically made up roughly 30% of global wheat exports, and that supply has not been replaced at an ENS equivalent volume. Domestic U.S. wheat production has faced its own pressure, with the 2022 and 2023 winter wheat harvests in Kansas and Oklahoma coming in significantly below historical averages due to drought conditions across the southern plains. Whole wheat flour specifically, not refined white flour, contains the bran and germ that provide fiber, B vitamins, iron, and zinc. In a pantry-dependent situation, those nutrients are the ones most likely to go missing from a grain-heavy diet. White flour provides calories. Whole wheat flour provides the nutritional completeness that makes those calories actually work for the body. The shelf life difference between the two is real. White flour in a sealed container lasts 10 to 15 years. Whole wheat flour, because it keeps the oil-containing germ, lasts only 6 to 12 months in standard packaging. Vacuum sealed with an oxygen absorber, that window stretches to 3 to 5 years. And that one packaging step is the difference between a pantry staple and a long-term asset. Large format whole wheat flour at warehouse pricing is already showing gaps. The same structural pressure affecting white rice and oats in bulk format, reduced restocking frequency, and margin-driven product prioritization is playing out in exactly the same way here. Number 2. Canned fish in oil, specifically the non-sardine varieties. Sardine and mackerel prices have already moved, and that story is well documented. The less noticed version of the same underlying shift is playing out across the broader canned fish category, specifically anchovies, herring, and smoked oysters. These 3 products share the same core vulnerability as sardines. They depend on wild-caught fisheries that are operating under tightening catch limits. Anchovy fisheries off the coast of Peru, historically the world's largest source, have faced back-to-back seasons of reduced catch limits, tied to La Nina-driven ocean changes that affect where fish move and how densely they populate certain areas. Herring stocks in the North Atlantic are under formal quota cuts from multiple fishery management bodies. Smoked oysters, sourced mainly from Pacific fisheries and Chinese aquaculture operations, have faced supply chain disruption from both climate-related losses in aquaculture and shifts in trade policy. Each of these products delivers a nutritional profile that is nearly impossible to replicate in shelf-stable form. High-quality complete protein, a dense concentration of omega-3 fatty acids, and significant caloric fat in a format that needs no preparation. Anchovies specifically add a flavor-boosting function similar to bouillon, and a single tin dissolved into rice, beans, or cooked grains completely transforms a meal. Prices across this category are up 30 to 60%, depending on the specific product and retailer. Availability in specialty formats, specifically the oil-packed tins, is already inconsistent across multiple U.S. retail regions. The window on this one is not theoretical. Number 3. Dried lentils in bulk format. Lentils are nutritionally on par with beans, cook faster because they need no soaking, and are one of the most calorie and protein-dense shelf-stable foods by weight. They are also facing a supply picture that most shoppers have not been paying attention to. Canada produces roughly 40% of global lentil exports. In 2021, the same heat event that broadly damaged Canadian pulse crops hit lentil yields hard. Production partially recovered in the years that followed, but export volumes have stayed below pre-2021 levels. India, the world's largest lentil consumer, has stepped up its purchases of Canadian and Australian lentil supplies, reducing the volume available for us import. Small retail bags of lentils are still available and not visibly short. Bulk format, 5 pounds and above at warehouse pricing, is the category showing tightening. Price per pound on bulk lentils has gone up roughly 25% since 2022. Sealed in airtight containers. Dried. Lentils last 25 years or more. They only need water and a heat source to prepare. In any extended situation where a functional pantry matters, lentils are closer to a foundational staple than an optional add-on. The format and the price trend both point in the same direction. Number 4. Iodized salt in large format. Salt does not expire. That is not a marketing claim. It is chemistry. Sodium chloride is already a mineral. There is nothing in it that breaks down. So why is it on this list? Because the large format supply is tightening in ways that are easy to miss until they are not. Iodized salt specifically, not sea salt, not specialty varieties, has become dependent on imports in a way most consumers are unaware of. The US produces a significant amount of domestic salt, but the iodization process and the potassium iodate used in it involve a supply chain that includes international chemical suppliers. Any disruption to that chain affects availability faster than the raw salt supply itself would suggest. More immediately, the 25-pound and 50-pound bags sold through restaurant supply stores and some warehouse clubs have seen price increases and restocking gaps over the past 12 months. Small retail boxes are fine. Bulk format is already less predictable. The nutritional stakes are not theoretical. Iodine deficiency is the leading preventable cause of intellectual disability around the world. In a situation where access to varied food sources is reduced for even a few weeks, iodized salt becomes one of the only reliable iodine sources in a shelf-stable pantry. A 25-pound bag costs under $10 and will last a household of 4 for years. The cost of waiting for it to become unavailable is not proportionate to the cost of simply buying it now. Number 5. Apple cider vinegar in gallon format. This is the item on this list with the most overlooked range of uses, and the format that makes it worth buying is already showing inconsistent stock. Apple cider vinegar has a practically indefinite shelf life when stored correctly. The acidity that defines it is also what preserves it. It does not go bad. It may develop sediment or change in appearance, but its functional properties stay intact for years. The supply pressure is specific to the format. Gallon jugs of apple cider vinegar have seen price increases of 40 to 50% over 2 years at major retailers, driven by a combination of apple crop instability and rising costs for glass and plastic jug supply chains. More importantly, the gallon format is the one showing the most inconsistent availability. Smaller bottles are still reliably stocked. Large format is the first to go empty and the last to get restocked. The range of uses is broader than most people account for. Apple cider vinegar works as a food preservative, an all-purpose cleaner at full concentration, a digestive aid backed by peer-reviewed research, a meat tenderizer, and a core ingredient in shelf-stable pickling that can meaningfully extend the life of fresh produce in any short-term disruption. No other single pantry item covers that many applications. Buying the gallon format now is not an overreaction. It is the sensible response to a price and availability trend that is already in motion. Number 6. Rolled oats in bulk format. Not individual packet oatmeal, not the store brand canister, but the sooty foodie or pound bulk bag. Retail oat prices have gone up roughly 30% over the past 2 years, driven by weather-related crop shortfalls in Canada's prairie provinces, which supply a large share of North American oat production. But the price increase is not the main issue. The availability of bulk formats specifically is the problem. When food manufacturers face pressure on their margins, they focus on the highest-selling products. Individual portion packets and standard canisters sell faster and at better margins than 25-pound bags. Bulk formats are already showing reduced restocking at warehouse stores. with some regions reporting that 50-pound bags have effectively disappeared from shelves without being officially discontinued. Oats sealed in mailer bags with oxygen absorbers stay at full quality for 25 to 30 years. The same oats in a paper bag start going downhill in 12 to 18 months. That packaging difference is not minor. It determines whether you are buying a pantry staple or a multi-decade food asset at the same price per pound. The window to find bulk format at warehouse prices is closing before most people realize it is a window at all. Number 7. Shelf-stable tofu. Most people do not know this product exists, and that is exactly why it matters. Aseptic pack shelf-stable tofu, the kind that needs no refrigeration until opened, has a shelf life of 12 months or longer. It has been widely stocked in Asian grocery stores for decades. In mainstream grocery retail, it is much harder to find, and the number of producers making it at commercial scale for the US market is small. Soybeans themselves are facing pricing and availability pressure that makes the problem worse. The US and Brazil account for the majority of global soybean exports. In 2023 and 2024, Brazil's soy harvest faced weather problems that reduced output. At the same time, rising soybean demand for biofuel production in the US is pulling supply away from food manufacturing and toward energy. A competition between the two that does not go away. Shelf-stable tofu is not a niche item from a nutrition standpoint. It delivers a complete amino acid profile, roughly 8 grams of protein per hour ALF cup serving, along with meaningful iron and calcium in a format that needs zero refrigeration and holds that nutritional value for over a year. For households that have never bought this product, the adjustment is minor. The supply and price trend is not. Number 8. Canned chickpeas. This one surprises people because chickpeas still look fine on most shelves. But the supply picture underneath has already shifted in ways that are not yet showing up in availability, only in price. Global chickpea production is dominated by 3 countries: India, Australia, and Canada. In 2022 and 2023, Australia had major crop failures in key chickpea growing areas tied to unpredictable rain patterns. Canada's output has been up and down since the 2021 heat event that damaged pulse crops across British Columbia and Alberta. And India, which both grows and uses most of its own output, has put export restrictions in place during periods of high domestic prices, cutting off the international supply with almost no warning. When 3 of the world's 4 largest producers face disruption at the same time, and one actively blocks exports, the price signal shows up before the shelf gap does. Canned chickpea prices are up roughly 35 to 40% over 24 months at major US retailers. The practical case is strong. Chickpeas are one of the few shelf-stable complete protein sources that also provide meaningful fiber and iron. In any situation where fresh protein is unavailable for an extended stretch, that combination matters. Shelf life in the can runs 3 to 5 years. They work across different cuisines. They do not need any extra ingredients to eat. And they are still widely available at a price that has not yet caught up to where the supply picture actually stands. Number 9. Canned coconut milk. 3 years ago, a 1 3-ounce can of full-fat coconut milk cost around $1.50 at most grocery stores. Today, that same can is regularly priced between $2.80 and $3.20. And availability has become genuinely inconsistent across multiple retail regions. Here is why, and the reason behind it matters. Roughly 85% of the world's exported coconut milk comes from 3 countries: Thailand, Philippines, and Indonesia. All 3 have been dealing with production problems at the same time. Thailand has recorded a sharp drop in domestic coconut yields linked to aging trees. Most coconut palms producing commercially today were planted 40 to 60 years ago. A coconut palm's productive life peaks around 15 years and drops off significantly after 40. Replanting programs exist, but a new tree takes at least 6 to 8 years before it produces at a commercially useful volume. That gap does not close quickly. At the same time, demand for coconut products within Southeast Asia has gone up, meaning less supply is available for export, even before accounting for the drop in yield. The nutritional case is clear. Full-fat canned coconut milk is one of the only shelf-stable sources of medium-chain triglycerides. a type of fat the body handles differently from other dietary fats and turns into energy faster than most calorie sources. For households relying on grain-heavy pantries, that fat profile is nearly impossible to get from other canned options. Shelf life runs 2 to 5 years unopened. The window to buy at a price that still makes sense is getting smaller. Here is what connects all 9. None of them are specialty prepper products. Every single one is a mainstream grocery item with a supply chain that is already under documented pressure. The shortages are not hypothetical. The price increases have already happened. The bulk formats, the ones that actually make long-term storage make sense, are the ones disappearing first. The action required does not need to be expensive or complicated. On your next 3 shopping trips, add 2 items from this list, just 2. At a normal grocery budget, that addition is nearly invisible. 3 trips later, you have built a real functional buffer, not out of fear, but out of the same logic you would apply to any other cost you can control before it moves against you. The people who end up paying the least are not the ones who react when shelves are empty and prices have already moved. They are the ones who acted while things still looked fine. That window is right now. Which one are you picking up? First, drop it in the comments. I read everyone. If you want to see the 9 items smart shoppers are buying before prices go up on July 1st, watch the video on the left. And if you want the full breakdown of 11 canned foods people are quietly stocking before they disappear from shelves, watch the video on the right. And do not forget to subscribe.